And hello, movie fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Zone Team Entertainment with me, your host Jonathan. Once again, bringing you my thoughts and movie review. And this is for the brand new kind of biopic film of young Washington. That's right. This is the story of our beloved first president, the real Captain America, if you will, of our great nation, President George Washington, before he became the president. So this movie stars, and I'm probably gonna butcher this, William Frank Miller, Maya Rodriguez, and Andy Serkis, Ben Kingsley, and Kelsey Grammer. So before I begin, gotta say congratulations to everybody involved in the film. Very hard to make a movie or TV show, depending on what you're watching. And also, where's our trailer, Marvel? I will continue saying this until Marvel releases the Doomsday trailer, which should be about 2 weeks from now. So countdown begins. All right, so this movie is very, very interesting to me because, first of all, we really don't really get, we get movies like Lincoln and other movies like that, but we don't really get movies about the presidents, especially the president that really helped shape this country, like George Washington, or even like knowing his backstory. I mean, yeah, there's History Channel movies versions of it, but not a big epic scale version of this of his life. And this is kind of like an action biopic kind of a movie, I would say, because there's some cool action scenes in here. So this movie does tell the story of young George Washington. George Washington, as a kid, loses his father, and as a child, and he has to kind of start growing up and being responsible, taking care of the farm that his family grows up in. But all he wants to do is grow up and go to school and grow up, and then join the British military and try to become, I guess, a soldier there. And as he gets older, he finally gets a shot at being a inside the army. He finally gets a shot at the army, and while he gets his first task is to basically go to the the territory that King George kind of controls, because all of those lands back then, King George pretty much a lot of those towns like Virginia and all those places. But when the French gets involved, the French stand their ground, and they build their own base there. And George has the task set by Sir Ben Kingsley to pretty much go there, tell them, hey, listen, if you guys don't leave, King George is going to send more guys at you, and there's going to be problems. Of course, in this movie, when people say that kind of stuff, that usually indicate that could be leading to war. And of course, the French refuse, and then we go from there. And then you just see George Washington become the leader that we all know he is, the military man, and then that pretty much puts him on the path to become our great First Nations leader. So, yeah, there's a little synopsis of what this movie is about. Yeah, honestly, I thought this movie was pretty cool. First of all, the actor who plays young George Washington, I think he did a really good job of capturing of what our imaginations could be of what George Washington was. Obviously, if you go to school, we know the history. George Washington was a leader. He was a soldier. He knew how to, survive and, learn how to, calculate battles and learn how to lead troops into battle. He knew how to do all this, and that led him to become our first great nation's president. So, we got to see all that. And I thought the actor did a really good job of, capturing that, character traits of what George Washington was. So I think he did a really good job. You have Ben Kingsley here, or Sir Ben Kingsley. He plays like the commander. He plays like, I guess, the governor. I'm not, and he pretty much tells George what to do. He did a great job as well. Very believable as well. You could even tell him, in this movie that his character, or the person he's playing, is motivating George Washington to become the leader that we all know and love. So I thought he did a good job. And then you got Kelsey Grammer. Kelsey Grammer was pretty much the father of George Washington's brother's wife. And he was helping him pretty much get into the military and telling him how to thrive there and how to do it the right way and how to, be who he is. And, and then, of course, King George's army pretty much uses George in this movie as a, how do you call it? I don't even know how you say it. How would you say it? Not a front man, but more of a stool pigeon in a way. I'm trying to like say like they kind of a scapegoat in a way. They basically use him to that way, if anything happens, they can blame it on him instead of the king getting the blame. Kind of a situation. I don't know the term for it, but it's kind of like that where they send George to talk to the French, and George was pretty much the sacrifice. That's what I'm looking for. He was the sacrifice, so that way King George's army can be like, yeah, we own that land. The French know we own that land. They should know that. But let's just send this kid to do it. We need to send our best men to do it, waste their time doing it. So let's sacrifice this guy. And then when you see George Washington do this stuff, it's like he believes that he's doing the right thing about telling them, like, listen, like King George, we he's our boy, he's our guy. He wants you out of here. He's warning you guys. You guys don't want war. And then of course, threats happen, and then, the war starts. So I thought that was a pretty interesting take on George Washington. First of all, visually it looked really cool. Battle scenes were really cool when were necessary. My real regret for this movie was the fact that it kind of had a little bit of pacing issues, where it was like, it wasn't boring, it wasn't like dull, it was just kind of like in a standstill before it got to the interesting stuff. So it was kind of like flatline, interesting stuff, flatline, the action stuff, kind of like that. So it was fine for what it was, and I thought I did a really cool job of just, I guess, giving us more information about George Washington and who he really was as our first president. So, I mean, obviously the history channels and the history books gives us more information, but I thought they did a pretty good job of capturing like maybe some of the most significant stuff of George Washington's life at the time. So I thought it was a pretty fun film. It was really cool when it came out on 4th of July weekend. I went to go see it. I didn't get a chance to go see 4th of July weekend, but I saw it a couple of days ago. Fun film. Yeah, like I said, it has its moment. The actor was great. Kelsey was great. Ben Kingsley was great. Andy Serkis was a standout for me because he plays like this cool general. And when you first look at him, it's like, is that Andy Serkis? You could barely tell. He's got the powdered wig on and all that stuff. So it's like, and then when you really look at him, he goes, oh, it is Andy Serkis. So good on them. It's a small little indie film. It was fun for what it was, and I enjoyed it. It made me more interested in learning more about George Washington, outside of the big blockbuster films. But it did its job, so I enjoyed it. So leave me a comment below. Let me know what you guys thought about Young Washington. Did you guys get a chance to watch it? Heard of it? Not heard of it? Didn't get a chance to watch it. I don't know if it's still playing in theaters. It might have just been one of those like, only for the weekend for 4th of July kind of a thing. Maybe a couple days afterwards kind of a thing. I'm not really sure. I don't know if it's like going to be a worldwide thing or select theaters. But if you get a chance to watch it, check it out. It's pretty cool. And it gives you information about George Washington. Maybe you want to go out and maybe even read more about him. So, yeah. So leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys thought. Stay tuned for more. Thank you very much. And have a good night.